In this module, we have looked at some rope safety and some of the various knotting tools. And now in this section, we will be moving forward into knot terminology. As we get into knot terminology, it's very important to realize and address the problem or an issue with this subject matter. And it's that there is no standardization for knots or knot terms. A lot of people who learn knots learn them in a colloquial manner. In a way, this is cultural knowledge that's been handed down for over 50,000 years. It could be a parent or a teacher or a mentor with one student or a few. As the knots taught to the new learner of knots, different terms or language that's regional or colloquial is often used. Because of this, from region to region around the world, different names and different terms for parts of knots or techniques in knotting, as well as names of knots themselves, differ from place to place. There is no specific standardization for knots or the terms used in working with them that's practiced around the world. That said, here at the Knot School, we are doing our best to try to create some standardization of knot terms and names while being open to suggestion. We have done considerable research to find the appropriate names for terminology, different parts of the knot, and the names of the knots themselves, but this is always open for debate. In this first module, we will be looking at 10 different terms. These are terms that I believe are the most frequently used terms that will help you understand and learn knots when you're discussing them with someone of experience. Our first term is to back up. And to back up is creating a secondary knot designed to prevent the primary knot from failing. Sometimes there's an alternative name to backing up, and that would be a stopper knot. Now, a stopper knot is also a specific category of knot, and this can be debated whether or not a backup should be called a stopper, but be aware that colloquially, sometimes a stopper knot is used instead of the term backup. A bight. So a bight is any slack part of a rope between the two ends. It's also a fold in the rope, which makes a U-shaped section or doubles the working section being used to tie a knot. Capsizing. So capsizing is a knot that has collapsed and deformed into a different structure. Capsizing can be the result of incorrect tying of a knot, but can also be done intentionally by pulling or adjusting specific parts of the knot. In some cases, this could be to strengthen the knot and also to transform the knot into a different knot. Cinch. So to cinch is to tighten a knot. The act of tightening a knot is known as cinching. This is different from when a knot tightens on its own, which can be called constricting or binding, although the term cinch may be used colloquially at times. An alternative name for cinching is setting. So someone might say, you need to set your knot. Dressing a knot. The process of arranging the rope within a knot to improve its strength and to reduce the risk of capsizing is called dressing. Dressing a knot can involve crossing or uncrossing the rope, often while also cinching. Dressing a knot can also reduce the knot's potential from jamming and may also help with inspecting a knot. Kern mantle. Already in this module, you've heard me use the term kern mantle a few times. Kern mantle is a type of modern rope construction and also a generic term for a rope designed for a specific use, such as mountaineering and rescue. Kern mantle rope is constructed with a braided sheath woven over one static kern mantle or several braided core strands, which act as a shock absorber. One thing to note is that when kern mantle rope is constructed over one core strand, the rope is considered to be a static kern mantle, while when it's constructed over several braided core strands, it's considered to be dynamic. Dynamic kern mantle rope will have more flex, and so often you will see the knot being tied and then weight being applied to the rope to feel its full stretch before the rope is used. Line, rope, or cord. So rope is a length of strong cordage made by twisting or weaving together strands of natural or artificial fibers. It can be made of hemp, cotton, nylon, or polyester, for example. whereas a line is a length of rope that's in use. A rope can be in storage or purchased, whereas a line is a working line that's in use. Cord or cordage is typically a length of rope that is thin in diameter. The term's generally applied to ropes under 3/16 or 5 millimeters in diameter. Paracord. Paracord is a specific type of kernmantle and dynamic cord. So paracord gets its name because it was originally used in the suspension lines of parachutes, and now paracord is used as a general purpose utility cord and for decorative knotting. It's available in many variations of color and quality, and the most commonly used type is paracord type 3 550, which is made with 7 inner strands with a braided sheath and has a breaking strength of 550 pounds. The standing line, or the standing part. This includes all of the rope, excluding the working end. It's the part of the rope which is not active and not involved in the knot. Other names you might hear for the standing line or the standing part is the standing end, which is the end of the rope opposite to the working end. The tail end. So the tail end is the part of the rope after the knot. It's opposite to the standing part, often the short end. However, in some cases, the tail ends may be long lengths of a working line. An alternative name for the tail end is the working end, and the names are often used interchangeably. However, the working end typically means the part that is actually being used to tie the knot, since the tail end might be a few feet or several feet long. The working end. The working end is the active part of the rope. This is the part of the rope that is opposite to the standing end. It's the part that's being used to tie a knot or pass through a device. Usually, it's the end of a working line, which is in hand. So, throughout the course material at the Knot School, you're going to hear these terms and others repeatedly. It's a good idea to write them down in your notebook or your journal and make some effort to memorize them. I would suggest as you're tying and learning new knots, just think about these terms, which part you're holding, which part is standing. These terms are a good part of knot knowledge, and they're probably the most misunderstood. And getting a good grasp of these will help you become an expert in learning knots and passing on this knowledge.